Good evening and welcome to the 32nd Annual Epicurean Delight supporting the Inland Northwest Blood Center. I'm Rick Jensen.
And I'm Susan Cerruti Jensen. We're pleased to be the honorary co-chairs of this year's event. Whether blood is for a cancer patient in need of a weekly transfusion or a patient in need of blood to stabilize them, INBC saves lives just like Isaiah's.
At just 9 months old, Isaiah had his first life-saving blood transfusion when he had to be life-flighted from Moses Lake to Spokane. It's a reminder that giving blood saves even the youngest of lives.
Isaiah needed blood the first time when he was 9 months old, and we had noticed blood in his urine actually. So after a few different appointments with specialists, he ended up pretty sick, weak, pale. We took him to the ER, and that's where they found out that his blood count was low enough to need a transfusion. And they moved him up to the ICU. And then at that point, his doctor came back, and she had looked over his labs, looked over all of his test results, and said, "We are sending you to Spokane. He needs to go." And so she had called for the helicopter.
I remember actually standing outside with Caleb, watching Heather and Isaiah go onto the helicopter, and Caleb was actually a little bit jealous that Isaiah got to go on a helicopter, and he thought it was really neat. But I, on the other hand, was just barely keeping it together. When we got to Spokane, the doctors were running kind of a whole gamut of tests and saying all these really scary things that they had to rule out, things like E. coli, leukemia, lupus. So they went through all those tests and finally settled on a diagnosis of atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome. It's a condition where the immune system is actually breaking down the red blood cells, and then the debris from that, combined with the person's platelets, starts to plug up the internal organs, things like the lungs, but mostly the kidneys. He was actually in early stages of kidney failure, and that was pretty frightening. We actually lost count of how many blood transfusions Isaiah received. We know it was somewhere around 10, but it was kind of one after the next, and we kind of lost track. The realization that INBC was there for us, and that they're part of the community, and that the blood was available when we needed it in Ephrata, when we needed it in Spokane, was just an incredible relief to us. It was this precious thing that we absolutely desperately needed, but it was just there, almost like a miracle. It just was there when we needed it.
And the physical difference that the blood transfusions made for Isaiah were that we saw his energy go back up again. His appetite went back up. He wasn't as lethargic. He wanted to play. So, huge difference. The blood center being here in this community for our family means that Isaiah's alive. And I think that's probably the simplest I can put it, that he's alive. He's 3.5, and he's a rambunctious boy, and he's a loving boy, and he's a cuddly boy, and that's what it means to us.
The blood center being in our community, to me, means that people here, our neighbors, care about us. They don't even know us, but they care about us. And it's pretty humbling to realize that, and to go about our normal lives now, knowing that those people who we don't even know, who we might see every day, did something that saved our son.